We want to go ahead and bring in our next guest, Steve Acho. He is a singer, but he's more than a singer.
Oh, yeah.
Keynote speaker, technology staffing executive, author, bilingual consultant, a musician, and an athlete. Steve, every time we have you on, I feel like I'm not living my life. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for the compliment.
Hey, is that a skyline of Chicago behind you?
I believe it's New York, but it's just a mural that is behind me in my office. It's not a fake Zoom thing. I had one of the fake Zoom things, but every time I would move, have you ever seen that? There's
all the time. All the time.
Your hands disappear, and you're not fooling anyone.
No.
You're
I don't
not.
think I'm fooling anyone with this either. I'm not in New York. So.
But we do want to say to people that do the Zoom thing, you can do a thing called a green screen that you can put behind you, and it helps with that.
Really
just don't wear green or blue if your green screen is blue.
But even those, even when you have a green screen and you pick one of the Zoom screens, if you move around, isn't it kind of weird?
Depends on the light.
It
all depends on the light. And that's with any green screen. If you had the light that's kind of reflecting onto you, if you're wearing like a white shirt or something, something lighter, it'll soak it all in.
Yeah.
It seems like my hands disappeared every once in a while. And, I mean, it's a cool effect.
If you want to be a ghost,
you gotta
right?
Have hands. You gotta have hands.
Hey, Steve, great to have you with us. We've had you on the show several times throughout the pandemic. How are you doing right now?
Doing great, thank you. Yeah, I'm right down the street from you guys, so it's odd that we have to do it this way, but that's the world we're in.
It is. But with that, you're still creating music, right? So tell us about your latest song.
Sure. So I wrote a song called Fixing You, and it's, I'm not very political. I'm not a very political person. I don't think even most people that know me even know, what my views are. But I wanted to write something that I think everyone could understand. And, it comes from kind of a frustrated perspective. And it's called Fixing You. And Fixing You is kind of my version of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. And so, the tagline is kind of, if you're going to fix the world like you want to, you can start by fixing you. And it's, I wrote it just to highlight the toxicity of identity politics, and encourage people that want to, quote, change the world to start with themselves. Because I think for the most part, other than people with very extreme views that almost no one would agree with, no rational person would, most people who are shouting in defense of some principle are well-intended, and they have good motivations behind what they're saying or doing, and they do want to change the world, right? And so, the outcry that I'm trying to put out there is, if you want to fix the world, just start with this person right here, instead of, there's a great phrase that I learned from a friend of mine who runs a big company, and he says, you should be a thumb pointer, not a finger pointer, so it's just like, start with yourself before you tell everybody what's wrong with the world, right? So that was the thought behind it.
So when you write this music, how much of an impact do you think it's going to have, or do you hope that it's going to have on members of the public?
Of course, I always, even if I'm writing something that's just pure silly comedy, I hope that it has its intended consequences. And for something like this, I just, music is so powerful. We live in kind of a meme culture where, people can put together some, pithy one-line quote as if it served as news, or it, you were able to encapsulate an entire opinion with, 5 words and some kind of picture. And so, my hope is always that, and of course, music just does something to people, right? It puts you in a different mode. And if you're paying attention to the words, and you're kind of taken somewhere, it just makes a point that there are different views. My issue is that for everybody that I've heard that's reacted to this, everybody seems to go, yeah, that's totally right. It's those guys.
No, it's all of us.
Like, right? It's a little weird because everybody can relate to it, but they're not thinking that I'm talking to them. I'm talking to them and I'm talking to myself, right? And it's like, so the tagline is kind of check the mirror on the wall before you judge them all. And if you're going to fix the world like you want to, you can start by fixing you. And so the idea is it's like you don't want to learn self-defense from someone who gets beat up every day. You don't want to learn, dieting principles from someone who's, morbidly obese and on and on. Well, there are people with these loud opinions about whatever they are, but they're not really whole themselves. And it seems like they kind of use the ability to proudly be part of a group and say whatever it is, whether they've thought it through or not, so that everyone in their group can applaud them. Right. So this is just kind of and as negative as that sounds, the chorus says you can knock them down or you can build them up. You can slam them all or you can raise your cup. So check the mirror on the wall before you judge them all. That's kind of the idea behind it. I don't mean for it to be negative, but just some thought behind, like, start with yourself and then move forward,
Really be self-reflective. Mm-hmm. And sadly, in this world of social media, so many people are trying to find a way to stand out. And they can do that in ways that are not beneficial to all of us. And sadly, as someone who is in the news, you could have one person make a positive comment, or you could have, 100 make positive comments, one person negative, but we always tend to focus on that negative.
For sure.
And so we need to stop doing that. We need to start focusing on the positive and lift one another up. So it's a great time for you to write this song because our world seems to be so divisive right now, but also we're in the middle of a pandemic where we've had time to sit back and reflect on who we are and what we want to be and who we want to be. And with that, how has this time been a benefit or a detriment to you? Because you not only are a songwriter and a singer, but you have so many other things going on as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've had a home office for about 10 years, so the idea of working from home, I have clients across the country. I haven't even met some of my clients or employees that are across the country because it's, they're all over the place. So the work from home thing, work remote thing wasn't new to me. But I think just like everybody else, especially people that are more extroverted and kind of get their energy from being around other people, that's really the tough part for me. I mean, there are days that I'll go out to, Starbucks, or I used to, just to be around the energy of people, not to see or be seen, right? So that's been the real difficult part for me. But, I try and be a very positive person and just say, okay, well, what can I do? What are the things that I can do? And I can certainly, when it comes to music, I can write, I can go record music. I don't have to be in crowds, and try and change things for people, hopefully for the better.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're talking with Steve Acho. He's a singer and entrepreneur. Can I say that? Just to kind of put all of your titles into one.
Yeah, we live in a strange world where, for many of us, it's hard to answer the simplest question when you meet someone and they say, what do you do?
Yes.
It's a lot of people, not just me. It's just, the real answer is it depends on the day. But that's a weird conversation.
Right. You're like,
so what do you do?
Yeah. I'm always like, I live my life.
Yeah.
Hard to kind of explain. But I will say, Steve, while we have you on, because we do have so many people that are still in the middle of navigating this world and trying to balance that home life balance of cutting off one and blending it into the other, but also being able to shift their mindset from one task to another and still be productive at the end of the day. As you mentioned, you've had a home office for 10 years. You've juggled multiple projects at the same time. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually get that all the time from people that I know who have never really worked from home other than whatever they bring home at night. So I live by myself. So, I don't, my life is much simpler than those that, that have children and pets and stuff to take care of. So I don't want to trivialize that. That's just having kids is, an amazing experience, I'm sure, but also a huge time suck. So you don't have as much time to yourself. But I think the advice that I would give is just to be extremely disciplined with yourself. So I have kind of these mental rules that I don't even remember actually articulating them. But, if I'm even going to turn my TV on, it never comes on before like 6 o'clock at night, ever. And that's if I'm even watching TV. So I think the advice is to create a calendar and be as strict with how you follow that calendar as you would be with other people. So I will schedule meetings with myself to write a song. I'll schedule a meeting with myself to go do whatever task it is for whatever business I'm working on. And, I treat that with the same respect as I treat our meeting today. I'm not just going to blow it off. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be there for the time that I said I was going to be there. And, when I schedule time with myself, I take that just as seriously. Now, I can easily change it and say, you know what, my day's gotten away from me. I'm just going to move this task till tomorrow. But it's on my calendar tomorrow, and it's going to send me an email. And I'm one of those weird inbox zero people.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I can't stand it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you do that or no?
Oh, my sister has like over 10,000. And I'm like, how do you live? Oh, my God. I look at her phone and I start to freak out.
It stresses me out to see the little icon next to the mail thing, and people have got hundreds or thousands.
Oh.
But everybody works differently. I actually don't recommend inbox zero for most people. I think it's just an unnecessary goal to have. It just works for me because I've been doing it for so many years. When I lived in Japan, I worked for the president of Mazda. And years ago, we were like two of very few people that had that Palm Pilot.
Yes.
And so when his Palm Pilot would go down, he would call me. And I would go up to his office because nobody knew about these things at the time. And so I would go and like try and troubleshoot it. And I looked at his email. And this guy's the president of like a 30,000 person company. He's a corporate vice president of Ford Motor Company. And he's got like 5 or 6 emails in his inbox. And I'm like, how do you do that? And he goes, I touch it once. I either delete it, I file it, or I send it away to somebody else, but I just deal with everything once. And I thought, if the president of a huge company can get it down to like 5 or 6 emails every day, I have no excuse. So I started doing that so now when I schedule a task for myself, it doesn't matter what it is, a meeting with someone else or a task for myself, I'll put it on my calendar. My calendar emails me, and now it's sitting in my inbox, and I want to get rid of it until I get the task done. So that's how it is for me, right? It just annoys me until I do something about it.
That is good advice for all of us, though. Mm. That is great. Hey, Steve, how can people find your song?
I am the easiest person to find, which means I can't like commit a crime or do anything. I think there's only one Steve Acho. But my music is everywhere that music is sold or downloaded or streamed or stolen. And if you just search my name, Steve Acho, A-C-H-O, it will be there. SteveAcho.com. You can also find out more about Steve and all of his numerous abilities. You are living the life of 6 people, Steve. Feels that way when I go to bed sometimes.
Well, we so appreciate your time with us here today.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Steve Acho, check him out, steveacho.com. Again, he is a speaker, IT person, an author, a bilingual consultant, a musician, and an athlete. His latest song called Fixing You.